Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. As always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast here on this Tuesday, July 29th. Hope everybody is having a wonderful day as I adjust the screen here. There we go. Got to make sure we get that Jesuit logo in there. Steinbrenner, TC, a little bit of everything. So a little bit, Make sure everything is good here. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I'm everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. As always, we want to hear from you. Feel free to chime in on the conversation today. We have a very powerful conversation to start the show. So, of course, we always want to hear from you. Rays with a big win last night. We'll get into that. Also with Buccaneers training camp. No training camp during the day. It is actually a night practice today. So we'll be there a little bit later on at 7 o'clock tonight over at the Evan Training Center at 1 Buccaneer Place. Speaking of our Buccaneers, our good friend Matt Matera is going to join us on the program at 12:30 today, talking all things Buccaneers. So Matt Matera joins us at 12:30, talk some Bucks and also some SummerSlam this weekend. Just remember, we'll probably have another roundtable later on this week as well. Evan Closky joins us at 1 o'clock. From 10 Tampa Bay, WTSP, he and I, whenever we talk Rays, it's a really in-depth conversation every single time he and I get on air. So I usually allot 15 to 20 minutes for our discussions with our guests, but for Closky, it's always a good solid half hour. He and Ian are the guys that we really, we talk a bunch. We certainly do. So make sure you set aside some time because we're going to really get into our Tampa Bay Rays. Again, thank you for all the love and support. Continue with those super chats coming. $1, $2, $5, $10, $20. Every little bit helps. Thank you to Benny and Dolan and Jeff Taylor and Greg the Cruz down there in Costa Rica. Appreciate all of you guys. We'll definitely get Ira on soon. Didn't see him yesterday. Hopefully we'll see him later on today, and appreciate you, David Terry. For the rest of the week, still got a bunch of irons in the fire. I'll be doing the show from New York next Monday at Mom and Dad's house because I got family reunion on Saturday. So the traveling never stops. It really doesn't. It's been pretty wild. Later on in the program as well, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but WWE's Unreal has debuted today on Netflix. I'm about an episode and a half in so far. So early returns without the spoilers at 1:30 today because I was very apprehensive on the behind the scenes look because I think breaking kayfabe and letting people in, I don't know if that's necessarily an advantage to the wrestling business, but I'll give you my 2 cents on that at 1:30 because I think it's a lot better than I originally thought. And I like, hearing some of these guys speak about the logistics of what goes into these matches. And for the people like, oh, it's fake, it's predetermined. All right, fine. Well, that's one thing, but so is, you're not really flying in on a dragon, are you, when you're watching Game of Thrones either? So that's something to certainly be cognizant of. But yeah, again, thank you for all the love and the support. We're going to get into that and how important that. And Dolan, boom. Dolan, we're going to start with that, my friend. All right. So one of the biggest stories, and on a day like today, when training camp is what it is, we know it's a night practice. We spoke about everything that happened yesterday with training camp. The Rays with a win. We'll get into that at about 12:20 today. But what I want to start with today, and I want to just have a powerful conversation to start the program. Because this story I don't know why it hit me as hard as it did. Maybe it's because I'm 40. Am I having a midlife crisis? I wouldn't go that far. But of what happened yesterday when a Gunmen killed 4 people at a Manhattan office building, trying to target the headquarters of the NFL, but took the wrong elevator. And one of the people that got shot was an off-duty NYC police officer. And I think part of the reason why this story rings true so much to me is because you guys have known for a long time that I'm always open to talking about mental health and making sure that we continuously have these conversations. Go seek somebody out. We're all in this together. And it's like there's different levels to it. But when you look at this story, again, first thing, off-duty New York City police officer. And I have a friend of mine that I grew up with. I was in his wedding, and he's a police officer in New York City. He's one of my best friends. If I ever, make the mistake of getting married, I always joke about that, but you never know, one day. Every time I hear a story like this, and there's an unmarked or, a off-duty police officer involved and he gets shot and killed, I'm always terrified to see the name because I don't want it to be him. He's got 2 kids. I've known him the majority of my entire life. And I feel like at times the police officer, it's just, oh, well, that was what he was supposed to do. It's easy to say when you don't know the person. But you only have one life. And in an instant, it can just be gone through no fault of your own. And you look at this story and you read about the shooter, Shane Tamura, who was trying to get into the NFL offices after shooting several people in the building's lobby. And he had a note on him that suggested that he had a grievance against the NFL over an unsubstantiated claim that he suffered from CTE. And you just wonder what is going through this guy's head that he's going to go into a building and kill 4 people. You can start by just, you can badmouth the guy and just say, oh, man, screw this guy. I don't really care. He took his own life. He's a coward. This guy had an M4 rifle and just walked right into the building and started firing. What was going through that guy's head? Why did he take it to this level? Now, you may not have those type of extreme thoughts in your head, but mental health is something that we need to continuously stay on top of. People are very scared to have conversations like this because they don't allow themselves to be vulnerable. They don't allow themselves, especially when you have a platform like I do, to be transparent and to let them inside. And I'll let you inside because this is what I've done. To a fault, people may not like it. I don't give a shit. I really don't. I'll be honest. I will be transparent, whether it's about my sports takes or otherwise. But it is completely normal to have struggles mentally. It used to be such a taboo thing, such a passe, like you don't want to mention it because it's a sign of weakness. I think it's good to talk about. I think you need to talk about it. I'm watching this WWE Unreal thing, and Rhea Ripley, one of the biggest stars in the world, she's absolutely terrified to walk out there in front of thousands of people in the arena and millions of people watching at home. Then when she gets out there, it's like a switch flips, and then she's this big WWE superstar, and she's one of the most charismatic people that you would never think has to go through those mental gymnastics before she steps through that curtain. When you were younger, you probably weren't allowed to talk about things like this because, again, it was a sign of weakness. But I'm here to tell you it is not. You're not a hero because you push these feelings down. You push these feelings down, one day you're going to explode. I think about the last 12 months of my life. At this point last year, I'm 39 years old. I'm about to go into my 9th or 10th year at WDAE, training camp underway. I went to every single training camp practice last year. Every single day in that heat, with one-on-one interviews and the training camp minute and the Recher's rapid reaction, every single day. But as I got closer to my inevitable release from iHeart, I got to be honest, I was falling out of love with radio. You know, I feel like we get into a situation in life where what you do ends up taking the place of who you are. And in some ways, to be ultimately successful, you have to blur the visions. You have to blur the lines, of your personal life and your professional life. I mean, look no deeper than WWE. Look no different than professional athletes. I mean, you just saw Scotty Scheffler talk about it last week about, the fulfillment of life and about how golf and family and things like that. And what's really, really important. Hold on 1 second, guys. Why are we doing this right now? Sorry, I had some disconnection issues. All right, we're good. All right. Good. We are good. Okay. So as the summer went on, I started thinking about this entire thing of what am I doing? Do I really enjoy this? Do I really love what I'm doing? And I'm getting farther and farther away from it. And you can tell that Zach was kind of getting a little disenfranchised too, but it's not something he and I really talked about. That's why I started doing the podcast at night, trying to look for some different things, different ways to get my name out there. But I needed something because I felt like I was kind of losing my identity a little bit. And we're going to have these struggles, the ups and downs of life. You're going to have these, where am I going? Am I making the right decisions? Am I surrounding myself with the right people? And then a couple of months later, my whole life turns upside down when after 10 years, I get let go. And the outpouring of love and support is extremely humbling. And it was exciting because there was a kind of a new chapter of my life about to start. But what people don't tell you about that when you have these changes, when things happen to you that are out of your control, is you really start to take stock into the people in your life and who's really there for you and who's just there out of convenience. Who are your friends versus your colleagues and your acquaintances? That's why I don't use the word friends very loosely. A lot of people have not changed the way that they've treated me or talked to me or answered my phone calls or text messages. But some have changed. Some have. And I don't get mad about things like that. I just think it's very revealing. And it's good to know where people stand, because that's probably one of the worst things in life is not knowing where you stand. So for those people, it is what it is. Dead weight out of my life. But as the months go by and I go through a breakup and I end up moving into my old house that I used to live in before my last relationship, I get back into coaching and I start seeing kind of where everything's at, right? But you look in the mirror and you're 40 years old and you're not married and you don't have any kids and you have 3 younger brothers and sisters that are all married and they all have 2 kids. And you wonder if it was all worth it. Me putting so much stock into going to all these Lightning games and going to every day at training camp, was it worth it? Professionally, yes. Personally, probably not. And these are kind of some of the inner, I don't want to say demons, that's probably too strong, but that's probably some of the inner monologue that I wrestle with to this day. leaving my family, being away from them for 20 years now, was it worth it? I think so. I think it was worth it because I always say I grew up on Long Island. I grew up in Central Islip, New York, but I became a man in Tampa, Florida. I choose to be here. I choose to be here covering these teams. I choose to be on the baseball field with Hit Factory. But it doesn't mean you don't have questions along the way. I don't have any regrets, but it doesn't mean you don't question yourself. As much as you want to say, yeah, you just believe in everything you do. Just be mentally tough. It's easier said than done. You need to pivot. Don't quit. Pivot, right? That's the story our guy Mike Neighbors, his book, has told us. I continue to try to paint on a happy face and to be optimistic and to do good things, but there are times you kind of look in the mirror and you wonder, like, all right, am I making the right decisions? Am I doing the right things? So when you see and you hear stories about this gunman in New York City, are you to that extreme? Probably not. But that guy had demons. We may not have demons, but we may have questions. We may have thoughts that race through our heads and we wonder, what if I did this? What if I did that? It's tough. All I'm saying to everybody out there, make sure you surround yourself with good people. Make sure you surround yourself with friends and family members that love you, that keep you in check, that don't just blow smoke up your ass and tell you what you need to hear. We all go through shit. Don't bury it down. Keep talking. Keep reaching out to people. And to those 4 people that lost their lives, let that be a lesson too of how fragile life is. You just don't know when your number is called. So you may be going through a tough time, but the person that you're beefing with, that may be the person that ultimately gets you out of your rut. Swallow your pride, bite your tongue, take the high road. I had this conversation with my sister years ago, and she was upset with one of her coworkers. And she just kept saying, why do I have to be the one that takes the high road? Why do I have to be the one that's always the bigger person? Why? She got really emotional. And my sister was, at the time, probably in her mid to late 20s. So it wasn't like she was, she was a business owner. She's a business owner now, but she was a business owner then. And I love her. And she's so smart. She's so awesome. She was actually at the Rays Yankees game last night in the Bronx with my 2 nieces and my brother-in-law, my 2 nieces' first Yankees game, which was pretty cool to them. But she said, why do I got to take the high road? Why do I always have to be the bigger person? And I looked at her and I said, because you can. Because you can. And it sucks. But that burden and that responsibility to understand that the only way that you can get past this obstacle is by you making an adjustment. It's heavy and it sucks. But you hold the keys to the situation. You're the one that can dictate the balance. And at the end of the day, if you really want that situation to change, it's up to you to change it. Because if not, it's that vicious cycle that just keeps going around and around and around. So life is not easy, whether it's your job, whether it's your friends, whether it's your relationships. And life is very short and very fragile. That's why I'm going back to New York this weekend. My mom said something to me because I'm going up to New York for like a pseudo family reunion on Saturday. And I wasn't going to go. But we decided last week that I was. Why? Because my mom looked and she said, you never know when the last time we'll all be together. To get my aunts and uncles and all my cousins together in the same place at my aunt's house, it hasn't happened in years. And with everybody now having kids, you don't know when that next time is going to be the last time. So even though I've been traveling for the last 3 weeks, Friday after the show, I'm going to hop on a plane right back to New York for the weekend and spend time with my family on Saturday, because you got to live every day like it's your last, because you don't know when it is. And then I'll do the show there for Monday, fly back Monday night, and right back to training camp on Tuesday, ready to roll. Life is short. Life is fragile. Talk to people. Talk to people. You're not alone. And I'll bring it up again. Our guy, Eric Moreno, whose dad passed away, who's a big listener and follower of the program. Eric came here, watched our show. That helped him get through it. And I appreciate you, Eric. Thank you, buddy, for all that you do and for being so vulnerable and honest and transparent with us. All right, let's talk some Rays baseball. I told you guys yesterday on the program that this series against the Yankees was vital to whether or not they were going to be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline and what their 2025 season was going to look like down the stretch. So they look to their stars, and they were very fortunate that the guy that was able to toe the slab last night was Drew Rasmussen. If there was one guy that I would hand the ball to right now, it'd be Drew Rasmussen. He's a guy. Hold on. I don't know what that is. Somebody just sent me a message about trade compensation for Pete Fairbanks. Interesting. Just we were talking about that. Pete Fairbanks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it looks like 5 teams in on Pete Fairbanks. Detroit, Houston, the Mets, the Brewers, and the Blue Jays. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. I would not be surprised at all. And you're not going to hear that anywhere else. You got that exclusive right here on the Jay Recher podcast. So do with that as you may on all social media platforms. Detroit, Houston, the Mets, Brewers, and the Blue Jays. Don't be surprised that Pete Fairbanks gets moved here in the next couple of days before the trade deadline. But the Rays had the right guy on the mound last night. Drew Rasmussen has had a fantastic season, 8-5 with a 2.96 ERA. They jump out to a 2-0 lead. Why? Because of Junior Caminero. Jonathan Aranda has really been struggling. I mentioned this on the program yesterday, but Cammy comes up, hits his 27th home run of the year to put the Rays up 2-0. Kind of weird how in the bottom half of the first inning, the Yankees come back and they score on an RBI, on the bases loaded single. Bases loaded walk, and Drew did not look like his normal self, right, in that first inning. And sometimes that's what happens when you play some of these great pitchers is you want to be able to get them early because you might not get them at all. And you look at what Drew was able to do. 5 innings, 4 hits. Those 2 runs were the only runs he gave up there in the first. Walking 2, striking out 5, that ERA at 2.96. And then Uceta, Clevenger, and then Fairbanks, who looks like he could be moved here in the next 48 hours. They combine to hold down the Yankees the rest of the way, and the Rays win 4-2. They're now 54-53, a game above 500, 4th in the AL East. But I think right now the Rays need to be focusing on where they're at when it comes to the wild card. They're now 2.5 games out of the third and final wild card. Last night they were 3.5. But as you're watching the game, you're hearing the news last night that Danny Jansen is getting traded. And when you hear this news, you look at the dugout and you see that Danny Jansen is still in the dugout with the Rays. Like, what is going on? I don't get it. I'm not even. I'm not seeing the. Hold on, guys. All right, I got to make sure because I'm not seeing some of the comments posted right now from YouTube. My apologies. I'm not seeing it on my side, but I was just looking at YouTube. I appreciate you guys. We'll get back to the Rays. I want to answer this stuff real quick. What's up to Bart Hill? Greg, as a Buddhist, I realize that life is impermanent. Also, we are all interconnected. Dolan says, your radio gig was becoming stale. I still love hearing you guys, but I get that you started questioning things. Appreciate you, buddy. Benny, we love you, Jay. Thank you for everything you do for our crazy sports fans. Thank you, David Terry. Lady Evil, I appreciate you so much. Dolan, always want Rays to sell Kim. Sending off Pete makes sense. Who the heck is Nick Fortes? Benny says. I'm with you, man. Catcher from the Marlins. But it just isn't it so weird with the Rays is you get to a point, and shout out to our guy, Honest Hammer, right? Our guy Russ, Custom Builders LLC, residential commercial, 813-244-0956. That's so Rays. I mean, we hear about that's so, Manny being Manny. It's just the Rays, even in a game where they're beating the Yankees, one of their most hated rivals, there's just an awkwardness about it where Danny Jansen, there's reports of him getting traded. He's still in the dugout with the Rays. Even the moves that this team makes, they can't even do that easily. It's such a weird dynamic. It really is. They just don't, even the deals that they make on the surface. It's like, yeah, okay, it is what it is. And I don't know, man. I don't know. This whole thing with Desmond Watson. Wow. My tweet just got picked up by Barstool. It's crazy, man. I had no idea that this tweet was going to hit the way it did. And isn't it crazy too? I want you guys to go back and look. I tweeted this out about Desmond Watson at 8:51 yesterday. I want you to go check WDAE's Twitter account at about 9:40 yesterday morning. Go look at what the WDAE account tweeted 1 hour after I posted that. Listen, more power to them. I'm not saying, that they don't have any right to do that, but I just thought it was very ironic that an hour after I posted it, nobody else did. Nobody from Pewter Report, nobody from Joe Bucks fan, nobody from the Tampa Bay Times or Fox Sports or anybody else posted anything about Desmond Watson. But I got some traction on this whole Desmond Watson thing. And then an hour later, my friends at WDAE posted the same thing, and they have millions of views. Listen, it is what it is, but I just thought that was funny, that kind of thing. I thought the conversation that we had with Ian Beckles yesterday was very revealing, because I went into that talk with him about Desmond Watson going, hey, I think it's cool that the Buccaneers are not just giving up on the kid. They're trying to keep him around. They're kind of trying to help him get his weight down, because it's more than just the football side. It's the human being, right? It's helping him as a human being and hopefully helping him prolong his life. But Ian did not believe in that whatsoever. Ian was not. He was pissed. He was pissed that we keep talking about this kind of thing. And I asked him point blank, I said, Ian, are you offended? And at first he said no. And then after we spoke for another minute or two, he said, you know what? I'm going to change my answer. I am a little offended. And I brought the point up yesterday when we were having this discussion. Professional athletes are a different breed. And being around them on the media side, being around them in the coaching realm, because I have coached former pro ball players' kids. I have been around them. I have been to camps and all these, just the baseball world. It's just different. Coaching alongside former major leaguers. And they get offended when people say shit like, oh, I can hit a fastball. No, you can't. You can't do it. Sorry. And it irks them because they put in the time and the effort to be the best at their craft. And some of them still don't make it to the big leagues. Figure in baseball, you fail 3 out of 10 times and you're considered the best. If Tom Brady failed 3 out of 10, or if Tom Brady was successful 3 out of 10, or LeBron James was successful 3 out of 10, they wouldn't be as great as they are or were. Interesting stuff. Go back after the show today. I want you to go back and listen to that interview with Ian Beckles yesterday about Desmond Watson. It's certainly not something that anybody else, that's not a take that really anybody else is having. All right, let's bring him in. It's our good pal, and I didn't tell him this, but we're definitely going to talk a little SummerSlam too. It's our good pal, Matt Matera from Pewter Report. What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing great, Jay. Awesome to be talking to you, and thank you for having me on.
You got it, pal. Have you watched WWE Unreal yet on Netflix?
No, I haven't. I've seen all the marketing and the publicity about it. And I think what I'm going to do is binge watch it at some point, but not for like a couple of months because it's still talking about storylines that are, in my opinion, like still kind of fresh or that weren't too long ago. And I don't want to see how the sausage is made just yet. I think like down the road, when other storylines evolve and things of that nature, it'll be more fun to look back and see how they went about it. But it's still too new for me to kind of go in and dive in. But I think it'll be very interesting.
Our guy Robert Cochran, always watching from Oklahoma City, he just said Cena over Cody at SummerSlam. So
I agree.
think Matt's a big John Cena fan. You're gonna like that. I've only watched like a episode and a half, and it's pretty much like the Raw. The first episode was kind of like the Raw and Netflix kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
But with John Cena, and I just saw a clip today of Cena, Rollins, Punk, McIntyre, Logan Paul, all those guys from the Elimination Chamber talking about the finish to Elimination Chamber.
That's cool.
And it was like really, really cool. I like that kind of stuff. I was a little worried because I think part of what I love about WWE is the mystique, right? It's like, all right, we get it. Like for the people that are fans like you and I, we get it. We don't need to be like, hey guys, guess what? It's predetermined. Like there's no disclaimer at the beginning of every Game of Thrones episode. Like these dragons aren't real. Like, you know what I mean? Like they don't have that. So so I was a little worried that it was going to be a little bit much, but I think it was good. I don't think they went too deep into how the sausage is made.
Okay, that's good to hear. And like anyone that wants to kind of hate on wrestling, I would argue and say that John Cena, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, all of these guys are better than your favorite actor. I love Leo. I love Denzel. It takes them 50 to 100 takes to get one good scene.
Right.
They get one take and they get it done. So, I mean, whatever your favorite movie is, the WWE has better actors than your favorite actor.
You got that right, buddy. All right, so real quick, SummerSlam before we get to the Buccaneers. Obviously Cena over Cody. Any other matches, any other surprises that you're keeping your eye on going forward to this weekend?
So I'm not going to be able to watch on Saturday because I'm going to be attending my friend's wedding. So I do love the fact that Sunday is all like no DQ, street fight, steel cage. Because I love the matches where anything can happen and there's no DQs. I'd rather watch a match with tables, ladders, and chairs and weapons and all that stuff and steel chairs and things like that than like just a one-on-one matchup. Like this guy's a great technical wrestler. This girl's a great technical wrestler. I think the steel cage with Solo and Jacob Fatu will be very interesting. I'm curious how, there's going to be interference and they're all going to come in. So how does that interference kind of go about? I'm the triple threat match. I don't remember if it's Saturday or Sunday, but with Naomi and Io Sky and Rhea Ripley, I think is going to be incredible. And yeah, I'm just excited for the chaos overall, especially all the no DQ and street fight stuff on Sunday.
Yeah, no doubt about the TLC match with all those tag teams to SmackDown should be pretty cool because they've been doing a great job with this whole thing, even though it's kind of like chaotic. Like they did a pretty good job of everybody getting their stuff in. So, with the TLC match, I'm pretty excited because those fans, in the metro area they're going to definitely appreciate it, no doubt about it. Bucks training camp yesterday, obviously the biggest story was David Walker and unfortunately being out for the year, tearing his ACL. Worried at all about the depth of the pass rushing situation? Do you think the Bucks make a minor move, or do you think it'll be status quo and they kind of look at guys like Marquise Watson, Jose Ramirez going, hey, we've kind of been in this situation the last couple of years, time for you to step up?
It's upsetting for sure because David Walker goes from a small school to finally getting a shot in the NFL and was very exciting, during OTAs and minicamp and had a good start to training camp before he got injured on Friday and is now out for the year. As long as you still have Yaya Diaby and Hassan Reddick, the Bucks will be in a good spot at outside linebacker. But now a lot rides on the growth and development of Chris Braswell. Now he's looked good in training camp, but we've only had one day of full pads, which was yesterday. You have a steady Eddie, all reliable in Anthony Nelson. I don't think the Bucks will look outside because, as you mentioned, Jose Ramirez and Marquise Watts, they're kind of like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens at this point. They will just fight forever competing for one of those last spots. There's another guy, Peebles, who's kind of undersized that may compete. It's definitely a blow, but a lot of this rides on Chris Braswell. Can he be that guy that you trust as your outside linebacker 3, or is Anthony Nelson going to kind of jump in there and take a spot? And Marquise Watts does have a role. He got injured last year, but he had that flash in the pan moment against the Titans 2 seasons ago. I think overall it's obviously tough with David Walker, but I think the Bucs outside linebackers will be just fine.
What did you make of the offensive struggles yesterday? Do you think it was more because, listen, Tristan Wirfs isn't in there, Charlie Heck in that offensive line, they're obviously kind of a work in progress there, or is it because the defense is just getting better, clearly getting better, or is it a combination of both?
So I think we got to remember yesterday, like Mike Evans didn't really participate. The Bucs have a pitch count on him where he'll practice, he won't practice, he'll practice, he won't practice. And even on the days where he doesn't practice, he'll come out and warm up, but then doesn't do 11 on 11s and stuff like that. Right. So you're asking a lot of the offense when there's no Mike and there's no Chris. Obviously, we have a lot of trust and faith and belief in Emeka Egbuka, certainly, and Jalen McMillan, who proved it towards the end of last season. But to be honest with you, Jay, I think it's all about the Bucs defense. They've definitely looked better early on in training camp, particularly the secondary. They are swarming everywhere. Tight coverage. Kindle Vildor, a guy that I thought was just kind of going to be an afterthought, making some interceptions. Christian Izien looks pretty good. Jacob Parrish recording several turnovers. Zion McCollum doing his thing. Some great one-on-one matchups with Mike Evans throughout training camp. Benjamin Morrison looks up to the billing of why they picked him in the second round and why he had a first-round talent. I've been really impressed with the overall coverage of the Bucs secondaries at corner and safety as well. Antoine Winfield Jr. dropped the interception yesterday, but he had an incredible first day of practice with 2 interceptions. Tyke Smith made a highlight play in the end zone the other day. I love what I'm seeing from the Bucs secondary.
It's a beautiful thing. Hold on one second, Matt. Let me read.
Looks like I'm hosting the show. What up, everybody?
Back. All right, good. There we go. I was just not getting any of my my stuff on here, so I just wanted to make sure everything was good. All right, we're good. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to ask you is Tyke Smith. He was a guy that was really looking like an absolute beast yesterday, and I just think he's a guy, when you look at him, and I was talking to our pal Greg Allman about this, and he just frees it up everything, and especially for a guy like Antoine Winfield Jr. Yeah. Like, what have you seen from Tyke Smith?
I think Tyke Smith and Antoine Winfield Jr., we can't anoint them just yet. We can with Antoine. Mm-hmm. But I think they have a great potential to be the top safety duo in the league. Like, I think that highly of Tyke Smith, and of course, a healthy Antoine Winfield Jr. has already proved that. But they can complement each other so well. We know how good Antoine Winfield Jr. is, when he wants to go up to the line of scrimmage, blitz, and get after the quarterback. Well, Tyke Smith can do that too. So now Todd Bowles has all the faith in the world that he can keep Antoine back on one play and send up Tyke, or keep Tyke back and send up Antoine Winfield Jr. They both are ball hawks for sure. I love how Tyke Smith has started building this reputation as a guy that's taken over the peanut punch and knocking out the football. He's always going for the football. He's got a great IQ for the game. I mean, Todd Bowles was talking all about this last year, but it's continued to show itself this year in training camp as well. Now that he's just playing safety and not really playing in the slot, and there is a great competition for the slot as well, I think the sky's the limit for Tyke Smith. And this duo of Tyke and Antoine Winfield Jr., they're going to be something special this year.
Shiloh Sanders is a guy that, gets asked about a lot, obviously because of his last name and, his upbringing and all that jazz. And he's the last guy signing every day. And he's really just dove into being not just a member of the Buccaneers, but just a member of this Tampa Bay community. But I guess the realistic question is, like, what are his chances of making the team, making the practice squad? Like, now as we start kind of looking through and start parsing through some of the numbers of, what this 53 could look like, what do you say when it comes to Shiloh and his spot on this team?
I think there's a role for Shiloh in the organization because you hit the nail on the head. I mean, Shiloh would be out there for 3 hours after practice if the Bucs brass and security and people didn't have to take him and bring him back into the building, because everybody is screaming for Shiloh, want pictures, autographs, and all that stuff. I mean, he had I don't want to say a routine pass breakup because he was able to cut in front and knock the ball away a couple of practices ago. And he started whooping up the crowd and everybody was chanting, Shiloh, Shiloh, Shiloh. Everybody was in a frenzy when it happened. With that said, the skill set is limited a little bit. I think he's got a great chance for the practice squad. I just don't really see him on the active roster, at least for the start of training camp, because J.J. Roberts is the guy that the Bucs committed a lot more money to in terms of money that you pay for undrafted free agents. He had a big hit yesterday on a pass breakup. It's going to come down to special teams and things like that. There's no denying the attention that Shiloh has brought to Tampa Bay. I see him on the practice squad, though. I think he can make the practice squad, no doubt about it. I don't know about the active roster, at least for the start of training camp, until, injuries happen and people got to be moved around and stuff like that. But I don't think this will be the last that we see of Shiloh once the summer is over.
Do you think that he will get picked up by a different team then? Because, we know how that day is, like that last cut down day, and things start moving and people are like, all right, well, you're filling up practice squads, and you'll see a guy that was designated to probably go to one team's practice squad, but he ends up going to another team and making their 53. Do you think Shiloh is going to accept that assignment, or do you think he'll probably look elsewhere? Maybe look to Cleveland, or look at some of these teams that maybe aren't as deep at the safety spot and give him an opportunity?
I mean, I think you have to take it if it's being on an active NFL roster versus the practice squad. I mean, there's so many more benefits and payday. Certainly, you would have to take that opportunity. And if you're being signed to an active roster, well, it shows that team has a little more interest in you and certainly has the depth to bring you in versus what Tampa Bay has, at the safety position, which is also really interesting because outside of Winfield and Smith, it's all undrafted free agents in that safety room. So that's just kind of an odd caveat right there. Shiloh has also said on one of his streams before, he's not used to being in one place for a while because he hopped around to a couple of different college football teams, was with South Carolina, and then followed his dad to Jackson State and then Colorado. So he's kind of used to moving around to all different places. It would kind of tie in with his storyline of come to Tampa and then going somewhere else. I would like to see him stay in Tampa again with the fan base that he's kind of cultivated here. But it would be hard to say, no, I'm going to stay on the practice squad versus taking a shot somewhere else where you're on the active roster.
Yeah, and if he doesn't get the practice squad here, somebody else will probably pick him up for the practice squad. I don't think he'd be a guy without it because there is skill there. Just depends on what he can do and how can he can translate to the NFL. My sister was just texting me too. Her brother-in-law texted me, and my sister says, "Are you famous now?" And I go, "What?" And then she goes, "My brother-in-law just sent this to me in our family's group chat. It's my tweet about Desmond Watson getting picked up by freaking Barstool." It's pretty crazy. I did not think it was going to go that, but this Desmond Watson situation, our pal Logan Robinson did something earlier in the off season, and something he put out there got, huge with Desmond Watson. So like, what do you make of this entire situation with Big Des? He's out there walking laps around the third practice field, barefoot, 400 plus pounds. Just what's your take on the entire thing?
Like how people are paying attention to it, or just
everything, like
everything.
Opportunity of making the team one day.
Yeah.
And like, are you surprised they didn't lose more weight between the last time we see him and now? Like,
yeah, I'm a little surprised that he hasn't reached his weight goal. Now, it's a little, I don't know. We can't really put ourselves in his shoes. Like He is a massive human being, and I'm sure it's not that easy to go and lose the weight the same way that it is for other people. But, the Bucs gave him clearly a plan, a wish list, a guide, whatever you want to say, for, hey, you got to reach this weight and this level by the start of training camp. And, at this point, he's not with the Gators anymore. Like, he is a professional athlete, or at least trying to be a professional athlete. And it kind of looks like, well, maybe you didn't really put in the work if, you didn't reach the goal to the point where the Bucs say, you cannot practice until you lose this weight. And, I'm certainly not in the best shape myself and not a fitness expert and everything like that. I have been at practice as well, sweating it out with everyone else. But I don't know how much just like walking a couple of laps around the field is going to help him lose like what is he, cutting weight like a UFC fighter? Like, that's my point. Like I'm thinking the same thing you are. On one hand, I'm thinking like,
how much weight is he really losing by doing this? And then on the other hand, I'm going, maybe he is losing weight because he has so much of it, right? Because you and I, if we're out there every day, like we're losing water weight being out there. It may be a fraction, right? It may not be a ton, but I wouldn't be surprised if like after a day at training camp, they were like, you know what, Jay and Matt, you lost 2 pounds today because you were outside sweating your ass off. Like I wouldn't be surprised with that. But imagine if it's him constantly moving and he's that big. Like I don't know where, because we don't really know, as much as we think like the Bucs don't get down to this, but we don't really know what their whole plan was. Like it's not like they put it on the internet like, hey, this is our 10-step plan to get Desmond down
exactly.
to 360.
Like I want to know the number that he has to reach.
Right.
Like is it 400? Is it 375? Like how far away is he from actually going and participating? Now, the possibility of him making this team, again, he's another guy that's destined for the practice squad. I mean, at this point, he's not participating in training camp. He's not going to get in preseason games. You're not going to put him on the active roster. He hasn't practiced yet.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, there's no denying his gargantuan size, putting him in a goal line situation, trying to stop the tush push or, 4th and inches type of play. Outside of losing the weight, I'm curious if he can match the speed that it takes to play in the NFL. Because there are other guys that are huge, but if you're not able to move at all or in any capacity, well, you're still not really helping the team. So the biggest thing outside of, making the weight to actually go out and practice is, can he stick with the speed of the NFL, or at least a good enough amount of speed for him to be an impact player for the Bucs? And that's why I think you put him on the practice squad, and then we'll see what happens with game day elevations and things of that nature. I think there's a role for him, but he's got to do it himself.
What is that role then? Because that, like, the more and more we talk about it, and I mentioned it before you hopped on, like, Ian is like, so like, he doesn't even like talking about this because you're taking up spot, you're taking up, like, I don't even know if the more and more we talk about it, Matt, I don't know if he does make the practice squad, because as you just alluded to, he's not even practicing. He's not even going to get in a preseason game. And we know how valuable those practice squad spots are. Yeah. And we saw like Sterling Shepard start on the practice squad last year, and he's playing meaningful games in the middle of the year when Godwin and Evans goes down. So it's not like back in the day where you stash a guy and you keep him there like, oh, you might not see him. Like, especially with how they changed the elevations over the years, like it's not the same way. Like guys aren't rotting away on the practice squad anymore. I don't know if he does make the practice squad, especially because he didn't lose the weight. It seems like he still looks just as big. What do you think the Bucs do see in him? That the fact that if he does figure this out, he could be a guy that you throw in there on early downs. And like, it seems like what they think he could be is so far down. I don't know if we're going to be able to get there.
Well, it depends on how many defensive tackles the Bucs want to keep on the active roster. Because you got to think Vita Kalija for sure, Logan Hall, that's no doubt about it. Greg Gaines just returned. He's going to be the primary backup for Vita Vea at nose tackle. And Elijah Roberts, the 5th-round pick from this latest draft, it would make no sense to cut him after not even playing. So we're talking about guys like Mike Green, C.J. Brewer, Adam Gotsis. These are all guys that are practicing. They're probably all competing for one spot. And now C.J. Brewer and Mike Green have been guys that have like kind of fluctuated from the practice squad.
And we've seen them. We've seen them the last couple of years, So, yeah.
So, like, I think he could be an eventual backup nose tackle type of situation. I mean, he doesn't really have versatility. But, I mean, he's a gigantic size. If he could just clog up the middle, take up the space of the center or the center and guard, blocking combination trying to move him. I mean, there's no denying his size. There's obviously, if he can get to the gap the way that, Todd Bowles would like him to, the size is a spectacle for a reason. Again, it's like Andre the Giant. Like everybody wants to look at it. If he can show that quickness enough, well, he's going to be able to kind of manipulate what the offense wants to do on a certain run play. I don't know how much he really brings pass rushing, excuse me. But yeah, I mean, it really comes down to the size and the mobility. His size is going to be what gets him a ticket into the NFL. It's, can he do anything else? Now, if he's not practicing at all, another team may kind of take him on the practice squad, but it might be something where maybe the Bucs don't keep him on the practice squad, but they kind of say, hey, well, if we do open up room throughout the season, we might be able to bring you on. But yeah, I mean, he's got to prove it, and he's not.
Are you more impressed with Emeka Egbuka's maturity on the field or preparedness? Well, maturity off the field, or his preparedness and how he doesn't look like a rookie on it?
I'm more impressed, with his off the field stuff. We just had, you were there yesterday as well. His press conference yesterday, he's just so dialed in. I love the fact that he's like a multi-sport athlete and didn't just focus on football his whole career. I think that's kind of helped shape him into being the athlete that he is today. He clearly hates losing. He clearly is competitive at everything, but does it in a very humble way.
Right.
At the same time, he hasn't walked in being like, I'm the man. And it's kind of hard to be when you have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin in the room. I loved hearing what he had to say about his relationship with Chris Godwin, calling him a godsend, talking about their friendship that just goes outside of football, off the field, and kind of learning from him. So I think Emeka Egbuka has the ability to be a star for this team. Who knows about this year, because you still have Mike and Chris Godwin, but he's here for at least 4 years, probably 5 years, because he got that extra year with being a first-round pick. And he's checking all of the right boxes. I still think there's a lot more to go with what he's done in training camp so far. He's looked good. He had a touchdown yesterday. I still think there's a lot more room to grow, which is a great sign for this team. So I'm very high on Emeka Egbuka. I would sprinkle a little bit of cash on him to be the offensive rookie of the year.
Where do you rank him and Jalen McMillan?
It's interesting because I think Jalen McMillan last year, when he was a rookie in training camp, so right around the same time, he was much further ahead as far as like production, big plays and stuff like that compared to what Emeka Egbuka is doing right now. Now, obviously, we all saw how the season played out, and McMillan took him a little bit longer to kind of, really show how he can impact this team and everything like that. But this year, it's been a little quiet from Jalen McMillan. He had one nice play, a deep ball down the field from Baker. The Bucs actually just tweeted it out not too long ago. I think Egbuka is probably going to be wide receiver 2 for as long as Chris Godwin is going to be out, because he plays that Chris Godwin role as well. Now, the Bucs' base offense is 11 personnel, which is 3 wide receivers. McMillan's just more of that outside guy. Haven't seen a ton from him in training camp, but I'm not concerned at the same time. He's going to be a little bit more of a deep ball threat. He's going to be that outside guy where you can move Mike around a little bit. You can move Emeka Egbuka around a little bit. But I think until Chris Godwin returns, you're looking at Mike 1, Emeka Egbuka 2, Jalen McMillan 3.
And before I let you go, what about the back end of the wide receivers? Seeing how many guys that they can keep. And I was having this conversation with somebody last night. I was going through, I was like, damn, there's 9 guys right there that like we know their names, right? You know their names. And how many do you think they're going to keep, and who has really stood out to you so far? And it's, a guy like Sterling Shepard is obviously kind of on that fringe. We know why he's here. He's not going to be a special teams guy.
Right.
How do you shake out that kind of middle to the back end of that depth chart?
It's really good competition for sure. Now, Chris Godwin's going to play a role in this one way or another, because if they put him on the PUP list to start the season, then he's going to be out for 4 games. That opens up another spot. I think the Bucs are going to keep 6 wide receivers, just because they're such a talented group. And Tez Johnson has really impressed me, and not just because he's amazing on the mic and, can cut a WWE promo. But Tez Johnson is impacting going deep. He's impacting going across the middle and on short passes and screens too. I've been very impressed with Tez Johnson. I think it's pushed Trey Palmer a good amount as well. There's a guy, Houston, number 89, that is getting a lot more targets than I really would have thought have. I don't think he's going to make the team. One guy that's been really quiet is Rakim Jarrett, a dude that, might be on his last leg of trying to make this team. He's had a lot of opportunities. The interesting thing is Sterling Shepard as well, because he did start last year on the practice squad, and he's been pretty vocal about he doesn't want to play anywhere else. He is at the tail end of his career. He only wants to play with Baker Mayfield. If I'm the Bucs, I'm saying, well, why don't we keep him on the practice squad? Because if another team says, hey, why don't you come play with us? You're going to go, no, I want to stay in Tampa and I want to play with Baker if that opportunity comes around. So in an odd way, I think Shepard's loyalty might benefit the Bucs a little bit more, where you can keep him on the practice squad and give opportunities to other guys as well. So I think Palmer's going to make this team. Tez Johnson's going to make this team. The frustrating thing, man, is Cameron Johnson, who was electric last year, made some good plays this year on deep balls down the field. He hasn't practiced the last 2 days. Something came up once again where he's injured. And if he can't be available, well, the Bucs aren't going to hold a spot for him. So it's going to be great competition. Obviously, the preseason games will dictate it too. But right now, Tez Johnson is certainly a guy that has really stood out more than most.
Matt, let everybody know what's going on during training camp over there at Pewter Report and pewterreport.com, Pewter Report TV, and all that jazz.
Yeah, so Pewter Report podcast is on our YouTube channel, Pewter Report TV. We mostly go at 4 o'clock. We won't have one today because practice is tonight, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of this week, we'll have it at 4 o'clock, recapping every training camp practice that's been going on. We've done a couple of emergency podcasts as well, like reacting to the David Walker ACL news, unfortunately, with that one. But yeah, that's all on Pewter Report TV. We do a couple of quick recaps as well and other content on our YouTube channel. So that's Pewter Report TV and at Pewter Report for all of our other social media.
Yeah, and I saw, who posted something about like soap hockey? What was that?
Yeah, so myself and Sly, Adam Slavon, also of pewterreport.com, we got approached with an opportunity to do play-by-play for this thing called the Big Boy Soap Hockey League. It was started. There's a guy, he's a fan of Pewter Report and the Bucs and the Pewter Report podcast, and he reached out to us, but he owns like a production company and everything like that. So it's essentially you get like a blue tarp, and apparently this is like really big in like Europe and in other places, but you get a big blue tarp, 2 nets, and you put soap and water on it. It's essentially like playing deck hockey, but on a slip and slide. But there's great production and everything like that. We filmed it about a month or 2 ago, and it's going to be on ESPN2 on Saturday, August 2nd at 10:30. So you'll hear myself.
Oh my God.
And we're officially on ESPN now.
Bro, that is so amazing. Yeah. I thought that was just something that was like coming up in the works. Like this is already done.
Yeah, it's already been recorded and everything. God. And it's going to air on August 2nd. So yeah, very much looking forward to it. I've done some play-by-play before, some hockey and stuff like that. So excited to get back, or I already did it, but looking forward to seeing me getting back into the booth and doing some play-by-play. It was a lot of fun. And
what time again? What time
it's
again?
It's at 10:30, I believe. On
AM or PM?
PM. So
10:30 Saturday night after SummerSlam is over.
Yeah.
August 2nd. Well, you're going to be at the wedding and you're making your ESPN2 debut?
Yeah, I mean, that's what pre-record is for and stuff like that. You know? What are you going to do?
It's a beautiful thing, man. I can't wait. I'm definitely going to DVR that at my parents'
I
house.
appreciate that.
The great Matt Matera, Pewter Report. Make sure you go check out my friends at Pewter Report, Scott Reynolds, on the entire crew, Matty4_Matera. Always a pleasure, my friend. Enjoy the wedding. I can't wait to watch that. I cannot wait. And then when you go back and watch SummerSlam, man, enjoy that too. Appreciate you, buddy. We'll talk soon. I'll see you later on tonight.
All right. Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks, Jay.
You got it, pal. The great Matt Matera. Oh, it's so cool, man. When I saw that, I was like, what the heck is this? And that's already done. Oh, I can't wait. I'm just my brother, we're both big hockey guys, so we're definitely going to be all about that. All right. Make sure you guys go check out my friends at Honest Hammer. You know, Russ has done such a great job of, supporting us over the years, and big DAE listener. And then of course, a big supporter here of the Jay Recher podcast. He's just such a good dude. Go to thehonesthammer.com. Let me pull this page up for you, baby. Right here. There we go. Look at that. Look at the Tampa construction, man. Let's make your vision a reality. You see the number there, 813-244-0956. They are all about it. And Russ is a big-time Tampa Bay sports fan, just like you. They do it all. Pre-engineered metal buildings, bathroom remodels, kitchen remodels, commercial construction, interior and structural renovations, new construction, a little bit of everything. Whether you're looking residential, whether you're looking commercial, you want to work with a guy like this because he's just like you. He's a big-time Tampa Bay sports fan, honest as hell. They don't call themselves Honest Hammer if they weren't honest dudes. Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC. Again, 813-244-0956. I love this website because it's got a little bit of everything on there. They've got their portfolio. Just you want to see. All right, give me an example of what you guys do. Everything is right there. Their general contractor company, CGC 153116. the first ever sponsor here on the J Recher podcast. We love our pal Russ and our friends over at Honest Hammer, thehonesthammer.com. Again, 813-244-0956. All right, let's keep the good vibes going. Let's bring him in. I didn't tell him that I actually have named this segment Extra Bases with Evan Closky.
I like it.
I go extra bases, and I explained it before. It's because every other discussion piece that I have, I'm always like, all right, I have 15, 20 minutes. We always go close to 30 every single time. And we don't ever plan it like that. And I feel bad at the end. But the reason why I don't maybe feel as bad is because I feel like we probably could go on for another 45 after the original 30. So once you and I start getting rolling about this Rays, and this is just Rays. Imagine if we talked about Lightning and all these other things, but you and I we're not afraid to kind of hit the nail over the head when it comes to our Tampa Bay Rays. First off, I want to say to you what I was talking about earlier on the program. The Rays are that's so Rays. Like That's So Raven from the Disney.
That's So Raven, yeah.
That's So Rays. They're playing well against the Yankees in the Bronx. And here's Danny Jansen just sitting in the dugout when everybody and their mother on social media knows he's getting traded. And you can't even enjoy the game because it's like, hey, I don't want to celebrate. It's just so Rays. Like, you finally get a nice win after getting swept. You're 2.5 back on the wild card now. You beat one of your hated rivals. But it's weird because Danny Jansen is right there. The Rays can't even enjoy a nice win in the Bronx without just some kind of weirdness of why is he still here?
Yeah, it's kind of a unique situation, obviously, that you can go in the game, even though it's pretty much known that you've been traded. But also for the players, it's nice to kind of have one last night with one of your teammates where he's not shuffled off and gone in 2 seconds, which is typically how it goes. You actually get to hang out with him, talk with him. And, he was even talking with Kevin Cash. So, Danny Jansen, a professional, certainly, knows kind of what his job entails. He was traded last year, traded again this year. That's kind of what happens when you're under these 1-year deals, or you could be a free agent after next season. But, I think that while they're going to miss his bat, not saying that he was Barry Bonds or anything in the lineup, I am curious if the team kind of is going back to its roots of saying, screw the catcher offensive production. We need somebody who can help our pitching staff out and frame the pitches correctly. Because if we're going to be built on pitching, if we have a starting rotation that is, pretty much made every start, it's going to change now that Taj has been sent down, but you got to support your pitchers. And that has been a little bit of the problem. So it's kind of been un-Raysian in a sense this season, because I feel like the defense in many regards has not been what we're used to seeing. And I think some of that stuff has been correlated to the slide right now, on top of the bullpen issues, which is also very un-Raysian.
Unraisian. I like that. I just had somebody text me something about Pete Fairbanks. It seems like there's 5 teams. I haven't really seen this anywhere else. 5 teams in on Pete Fairbanks. What do you think the chances are that he gets traded by the trade deadline on Thursday?
I think I saw the last article from Jeff Passan put it at 20%. I think it's kind of 50-50 in my eyes. The Rays are in a position where I don't believe they're just going to give Fairbanks away. He's a good price for next year. They have bullpen issues that they have to solve in 2026. Removing Fairbanks from that equation just creates another issue next season, despite how many people out there believe that he's a shaky closer, yada, yada, yada. I mean, he still is the best relief arm in that bullpen. So they don't have to trade him. But if someone is going to come over the top and say, hey, we need him and we're willing to overpay for him, then maybe it is worth it. I don't think the Rays would trade Pete Fairbanks for a piece that is not going to help them immediately, at least next year. But who kind of knows? But I leave it as kind of a coin flip, and it's really going to come down to what team out there is so desperate enough to offer the Rays something extraordinary to trade him. versus maybe Eric Neander saying, hey, we just got to get rid of him. But to play devil's advocate with myself, Pete does have an injury history, and he has not been injured yet. Do you fear that maybe that's coming down the chute and, you're rolling the dice by sticking with him and then eventually gets injured again and ruins some value in the offseason if you want to play this game again? Those are the tough decisions that Eric Neander has to balance.
Yeah, and that's what I wonder too, is like when you look at some of these deals, like the whole deal with Isaac Paredes, like you move a guy like that, and this whole Christopher Morel situation it's floundered to say the least. You know what I mean? Like it's just been bad. And as much as we laud Eric Neander and the Rays for all they do, like I don't feel like they wear enough of their bad moves, right? Like at times I think they just got to put their hands up and say, hey, this didn't work. And we understand that they have to operate within the fine margins. They can't make these multi-million-dollar mistakes as these other teams do. But I also think that it doesn't absolve them from also, kind of rearranging things when things don't go right? Like you do see trades sometimes from the Rays when they get like, oh yeah, believe us, we're trading him for a prospect. And then we never hear from that prospect. And it kind of just like it dissipates and just disappears in the wind. Like I feel like the Rays need to, and Neander, and people want to say it's the catcher, but I think Kyle Snyder's got to wear some of the struggles too of Boz and Bradley. It doesn't mean you think they suck or the Rays should get rid of them, but I feel like they need to be held accountable for some of the decisions that they've made too, because of course they're not perfect, but some of them haven't worked out.
Yeah. And I think typically what I always tell fans as well is we all want like black and white analysis to make it easier on ourselves to just dissect what is happening and what is wrong or what is right. And everything is in the gray. Everything is nuanced. Everything has an explanation to it. So the process for trading Paredes, I agreed with. Can't control the outcome. The outcome was bad. In hindsight, taking a risk on a player like Morel, who you can talk to any Cubs fan out there, he was up and down. He'd have stretches for a week where he looked like the best player in the league, and then for 2 weeks he would strike out 1,000,000 times. Yeah. And there's stuff still within his profile between the underlying metrics that leads me to believe that he's still the player that the Rays were interested in. The fact that he barrels up so many balls, that he pulls so many balls in the air, that he has elite bat speed. There's a lot of things to like about Christopher Morel, but it just doesn't work because he is not good enough against too many pitches in Major League Baseball, and pitchers are too good to expose him, which is why typically in the middle of the season, you saw him kind of get a spot start once a week, once every 8 days. And typically when he got the spot start, he was good because they were putting him specifically against pitchers that work with his swing profile. And when you can shelter him like that, well, yeah, it's great, but you're also burning a bench spot on a guy who's playing once every 7 days, and that's a problem. And if you expose him to more games, he's going to be exposed, and it's going to be a problem. So, look, it's looking like a bad deal. I will say I like Ty Johnson. Hunter Biggie, I think, will also be a long-term relief piece in his bullpen. I mean, you don't trade Paredes for Hunter Biggie and a pitching prospect that we still don't know much about. Morel was the key piece in that trade because you wanted to remove the log jam from third, shift it into the outfield, and try to get the same type of player without losing anything. And it failed. So that's unfortunate. And that's also part of the equation of the Rays doing 1,000,000 trades. A lot of other organizations, they don't swing as much as the Rays do on trades. So the Rays hit more often than other teams. They also miss more often because they actually are taking more at bats. The Padres are a team that make 1,000,000 trades. There are certain teams out there that also like to wheel and deal, but there are others who are too scared to kind of take the risks that the Rays do. And I always typically say for every deal like the Paredes one, there is one that you can spot where, they do an Austin Meadows for Isaac Paredes. And you're like, what the hell was that? At the time of that deal, we were all like, that is dumb. And then here we are, 2 years later complaining about Paredes getting deals because we all fell in love with him. So typically I can kind of go one for one. for every bad deal, I can come back with a good deal with the Rays, and hopefully new ownership comes in where they don't have to constantly ruin a good thing. But I also do believe they need some self-evaluation on a lot of things. I think organizationally, their hitting development has not been good enough, objectively speaking. I think pitching development has been extraordinary, and they filled the farm system up last year a little bit with that. And there are a lot of arms I like in this farm system on top of the plethora they had this year. So I mean, I do believe in what they're doing with their pitching, but I think they definitely need an organizational restructure with hitting, and also I think they need to reevaluate how they're grabbing players because they are creating log jams for themselves. And that, I mean, we have another one coming down the chute. You have Yandy, you have Bilal, you have Aranda, right? You also have Bob Seymour there in AAA who deserves a shot because he's got pop and power, but he only profiles as a first base DH. You got Trey Morgan, who I think is ready for Major League Baseball. He is a Gold Glove caliber first baseman who you're trying out in left field because you want to find a spot for him. He's stuck there. Eventually, you got Xavier Isaac, who's one of your best prospects, who's a first base DH. So again, you're stuck, and now you're forced to deal out of this logjam when teams know you're logjammed and you have no leverage in the deal. So you have to try to do what's best, and that's how you lead into Morel trades. So there's like, the Paredes thing is one type of path. I'm hopeful and I believe that they learn from the Blake Snell trade that they'll never do something like that again, where they'll trade a player like Blake Snell for a bunch of darts that are so low on the totem pole organizationally that they can just blow up in your face. That was, I think, a learning lesson for them. And you saw them kind of learn from that with the Tyler Glasnow deal. They got Pepio, they got DeLuca. Those guys were inserted on the roster right away, and they move forward. So it's a very, I love having these conversations because they deserve a lot of criticism for things, and they also deserve a lot of praise for other things. And it's just depending on what we're talking about, I either think very highly of what they're doing or they can use improvement. So, you know, I'm not certainly here to say that Eric Neander and the Rays and, you know, they're the number one and everybody should look at them in how to run a franchise. I think they have some work to do, but I also believe they're better than most.
Yeah, I'm kind of stuck when it comes to the Rays, man, to be honest with you. I'm so stuck because, like, I look at the Randy Arozarena deal, right? And you go and you get Brody Hopkins, and this year he's 4-7 with a 3.28 ERA. His whip is 136. You know, Aiden Smith is batting 220 with Bowling Green. And, you know, it's like, all right, you know, he struck in 106 times. You know, there's such a lack of feel when it comes to outside the numbers. When it's this team, everything needs to be explained. Everything needs to be, like you just said, all right, well, this number and this and that, like, we're getting farther and farther away from people wanting minutia in their life. Forget about being a sports fan. Like, if you're every single time your wife comes home late from work, it's this and another explanation and another explanation, another explanation. Eventually you're just gonna be like, I don't want to hear it, just show up on time. Like, that's it. Like, people don't want to hear explanations anymore. And it's like, you're tired. And it doesn't mean that you're not appreciative of what they've done. But, you know, I got back into coaching now this summer, and it's just like, nobody's interested in the Rays. Like, I'm around baseball people all the time. And the Rays conversation is about the stadium and the ownership. They don't watch the games because they're exciting. They don't watch the games because they're invested in the players. People don't want to invest their time. Forget about the money. They don't want to invest TV time watching the Rays because they don't appreciate the way that they do business. It's not saying that, hey, man, look at what you're doing. You're making a 5-course meal with $20. You're appreciative of it, but it's just like, I'd rather get like a high-end 5-course meal for $100. Like, that's what a 5-course meal is. Like, I don't want to be shopping in the clearance aisle all the time, right? You want to spend your time on something that's a product, you're proud of it, and you know that there is some substance to it. You know that if you're going to buy a jersey, that guy is going to be there. You know, if you turn the Rays game on now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, it's a pretty good chance that Junior Caminero is going to be the third base, right? The shitty thing about it is that you don't know that. You don't know that in 2 years, 5 years, if I said put your house on it, the Rays won't sell. Junior Caminero at some point in the next 5 years. I don't know how many Rays fans could be like, you're right. You're right. I believe you. That's a crappy feeling. Ev, because we're not from here, right? So we have a knowledge of sports that just, it goes beyond the Tampa Bay area. We know small markets, we know big markets, we know baseball and hockey and football and all these different things. And we know living down here, people in the Tampa area, it's all about convenience. I know for me, I live 1,200 miles away from my family because I love it here. I love the seasons. I love the people I work with. I love everything, right? But it's convenience. It's easy. It's a better life for me than from where I'm from on Long Island. But for fans that have so much other time and so much other money and all these different things, like there's just not. I asked Stu Sternberg the whole Montreal thing. Do you feel like there's a disconnect between you and the community? And he said, no, I don't think so. And the fact that whether he's lying or whether he doesn't know any better, regardless of what the answer is, Ev, like that's a problem. It's a problem that I'm around people that have grown up in the Tampa Bay area, that grew up worshiping Al Lopez, who is a Hall of Famer, and they could give two shits about the Rays. Like, so that's the thing with me is like, we can appreciate how this team is put together and the way that they go up against these mighty giants, $300 million payrolls, but there's still a disconnect with this team and the community. My question to you is do you think that a new ownership, not only do you think the new ownership and hopefully a new stadium, it'd have to be a new stadium, how important is going to be that building of that trust with the fan base and the community, just as much as, popping 40, 50, 60 more $million into the payroll?
It's going to mean everything. Like that's number one goal for the ownership outside of getting a new stadium, right? Is rebuilding. I don't even know if rebuilding is the right word. Starting a relationship with the community. You bring up the Randy trade, right? Like Eric doesn't have the ability to think long-term with players. He has to think about the fact that they're not going to re-sign Randy, which means that his value is higher with a year and a half left on his contract, to where you have to make a trade. And when you're not competing for a playoff spot, now is the time to make the move. So I think in a vacuum, if it's like, oh, we shouldn't be trading Randy Arozarena, I agree with you, right? That's a Stu Sternberg-led problem. That's the ownership forcing the hand of the front office, saying, if you don't want to suck for a long period of time and you want to keep this train moving, you're going to have to keep recycling your parts. And so, by the way, the Randy deal, I'm a big fan of Brody Hopkins. I'm a big fan of Aiden Smith still. So I think that could work out for them in the long term, but still you're watching Randy right now for Seattle just absolutely go on his typical Randy runs that we were used to watching with the Rays, where he gets hot for like a month, and it sucks to watch. So I think people have this misnomer that an owner needs to come in and start spending a boatload of money. That's not necessarily what I think ownership needs to do. Right. Ownership just needs to reward the players who the organization has grown attached to, and they have to be able to. Shay, go inside. Go stay at mine. My dog's all excited. The ownership just needs to reward the players who the fans have grown attached to. So, like with Junior Caminero, great example. They need to pay Junior this offseason, because if you don't, he's going to be a $350 million man at some point when he hits free agency. Could be $400 million by that time. You have to reach a long-term deal with him now, where you have pre-arbitration and Junior's making no money and would cut you a deal so that he can get some more money quicker and you can buy some of his free agent years. That should be the first move new ownership does if the deal goes through in September, is in the offseason, hey, we're here. By the way, so is Junior Caminero for 10 years, $300 million.
Right.
That's how you do it. I don't need this organization. It would be great if they go out and say, hey, Kyle Tucker, come on by, Tampa guy. That'd be awesome. But I just want to see like the community grow up rooting for Junior and know he's going to stay. Chandler Simpson, a guy that fans are starting to love watching. Chandler's going to be around for 8 some odd years. That's what this ownership needs to do. You got to allow Eric to continue to keep some of these players that he's brought into the organization while doing some other moves of where guys who might be falling off a cliff before they've actually fallen off a cliff can be traded. So, Randy's also an older guy. I don't know how much more length he's going to have in his career. This year's great, but, objectively speaking, I don't know. But that's to me what ownership needs to come in and do. They need to build, because when you think about the Rays and like the past of like Evan Longoria and how much he meant to the community, and some of those people in the '08 run, like Ben Zobrist, who was here for a while, even like a guy like Carlos Pena, like some of these guys who were around a while, you fall in love with it, you grow an attachment, and that lasts you a long time. But they're so disenchanted now. They just automatically assume that any player who does anything well is going to be gone. Why am I going to invest my time in this team? And that is the number one complaint I've had with Stu, and that will be a lasting legacy for him, is despite how much of a winner this organization is undoubtedly so, he never built any community relations because he refused to ever invest in one of his players. And the one guy he did, Wander Franco, was unavoidable and did some heinous act, and now they should luckily get out of that contract. But it was such a deal for them to make that, it was like a $182 million deal for a Hall of Fame type of talent. It took some huge deal in their favor to make that happen. So I really hope new ownership would come in and just invest in some of the pieces that are working out for these guys who are young, who you can project to be good for a long time, and say, hey, that crap that happened for 15 some odd years, that's over with. All right. Not saying that we're going to keep everybody, but just saying that if players come in, they perform, they're going to be rewarded. You know who does something like that? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They built a whole organization in that. And I think from where they were in their kind of early Jason Light years to where they are now, you've seen the community all of a sudden. I mean, winning helps, but you've seen the community grow more and more attached to the organization. And I feel like the Bucks product, especially post Brady, I don't think that the Bucks have ever been stronger than what it is today in this community and what they're doing in terms of attachment to the club. Despite the fact that we're always going to have issues with attendance and all these things, it's not going to be what it is in some of the bigger cities, and you're going to play Pittsburgh and that, or Detroit, and that fan base is going to invade, or Philly. Those things are going to happen. I don't care what sport, but overall, I just want to see more love for players that the fans are falling in love with.
I'm with you. I mean, when you think about it, there's only 2 players all time. And I know it's still a relatively young franchise. It's only been around for 27 years or so. Only 2 players have ever played 10 years for the Rays, 10 seasons. And that's Longoria and Kiermaier. Like, that's crazy to think that, man. 10 seasons, right? You haven't had one lifer that was like, and I'm not saying to play your whole career with the Rays, we know with free agency and trades, but we haven't had one guy that was here for 11, 12, 13 years. No lifers. It's sad, man. It really is. And you look at a guy like Chandler Simpson. I want to ask you about him. Like, what have you seen with him being called up? I said it to my buddy the other day. I go, Chandler Simpson, I don't know if he'll ever be a leadoff hitter, center fielder. To me, he's a guy that's a bottom. He should be batting ninth and playing left field. That's him. He's that type of guy to me. I just don't think he picks it as well in the outfield. I don't care how many years you're going to work with him out there. I think as you get older, I think it's going to be maybe a little bit tougher for him to be able to use that speed. Your speed is going to drop off a little bit. What's your take on Chandler Simpson and how the outfield's configured right now, and where do you see him kind of long term?
Well, Chandler Simpson has only played about, I think, 170 games total defensively in center field. Mm-hmm. Remember, he was drafted as a shortstop and converted out there. It has not come as natural to him. I know that he's working really hard, but it's going to take some time. The problem is his bat is major league ready. His fielding was not. And fans, when Chandler was sent down and they said, hey, work on a couple of things, they didn't like that answer. They want Chandler Simpson in the lineup. So it's one of those things where you have to kind of bite your tongue. I feel like in a playoff type of series, you would see what Kevin Cash did last night, where Simpson got replaced for DeLuca late, and you thrust him in at the end of games to save yourself. I'm sure DeLuca will be starting tonight because Max Fried is pitching and it's a lefty. But it just depends. Like, Chandler, if you're trying to win this season, Chandler's not a center fielder. And he's barely a corner outfielder, but he's at least manageable out there. but you have to also give him reps. So if you're trying to get him to grow, and if the season is just a lost cause, you throw him out there in center, and his range is going to be good for a pretty long stretch here. I mean, think back to a guy like Jose Reyes. It took a while before Reyes fell off the map with his speed.
Right.
His range is going to be okay, and his range allows you to say, okay, he's probably, once he picks up on this thing, going to save us a lot more than hurts us. And we saw something similar to Jaron Duran, who came up, was atrocious in the outfield, and then like last year put together just an unbelievable season defensively, especially in center field. He's been pushed to the corners because of Rafaela, but it is possible, and there is evidence that the more you play out there, the better you're going to get in center field. Right now, he's not a center fielder. Long term, I still believe in him. I think that if the team could bring in a legit center fielder, they would do it. It's just hard. I mean, those center fielders, catchers, shortstops, hardest positions to bring in as impact bats because they're so coveted. That's why you saw them bring in Jose Siri, because he was such a defensive-minded center fielder, so good out there, but he couldn't do anything with the bat except for a 1 week stretch here or there. They need to probably, like, for me, I don't know if they can enter next year saying Chandler is our center fielder. Maybe long term he could be, and you kind of do left field, center field sort of deal and give him some spot starts. But for me, right now, he's a left fielder, and if the season's a loss, I would love for him to get more reps. But there have been a handful of balls out there in center field that drop or blow up an inning. And I mean, the one against the Yankees yesterday for Drew was obvious, but there are other ones that are not as obvious to the human eye, to fans who don't look at these metrics and don't realize that, like, if Cameron Meisner or Johnny DeLuca is out there, that's
Right.
probably caught because they get a better jump. They're going to get there quicker. And this ball that's like just out of his reach isn't just out of their reach. So that's like the toughest thing I think for people to realize, and fans, is it's not, they know what bad looks like. They just don't know what's possible defensively and what really, really good looks like, because even a guy like Pete Crow Armstrong, who does amazing things every day, some of the daily catches he make are unreal. So I'm a believer in Chandler. I think better days are ahead, and we're looking at a perennial 300 type of hitter. He's going to have like 80 stolen bases in a season at one point. The amount of pressure he puts on pitchers, being distracted with the current guy at the plate, like that also is something that's not quantifiable. So I am stoked for Chandler Simpson long term. Just I believe that he can grow into center field. Whether he's able to do it, we'll see. But I love Chandler, and I think he's going to be an impact player on this team for a long time.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest beef with Chandler Simpson is like I've seen it both ways. I've seen kids that are tremendous athletes that were shortstops, and you put them out in center field, and the range is good, but there's just something instinctually that they don't pick up the ball off the bat as well as the guy that is just either he's been a center fielder, or just not everybody's the same, right? And if you're playing in the minor leagues and everybody's focused on you doing this, the greatness shows itself early, I think, at certain times. And center fielder is such a demanding position, and the bar is raised so high, where you have Varshos, you have Kiermaiers, you have Kevin Pillar from years ago. Like, those guys learned, but I mean, at what age, right? Were they picking up balls when they were 11 and 12 years old? And I think that's where you run the risk of drafting all of these shortstops and saying, well, if we draft from the shortstop position to just move everybody outward. Yeah. I mean, athleticism wise, you can do that because he can run like a gazelle in the outfield, but you can't duplicate getting jumps on the ball. You can't duplicate how when you get up to the warning track, how you don't chop your feet and you go crashing into the wall, throwing the baseball and hitting your cutoff man. You can work on that until you're blue in the face, but he can do that for the rest of his life and not be as good as Jose Siri. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing, is like sometimes you either got it or you don't got it. So I'm very interested to see kind of where he falls on that scope as far as a defensive center fielder. Before I let you go, what do you think the next 48 hours is going to look like for the Rays when it comes to the trade deadline? Do you think any of that is going to be kind of impacted by how they fare against the Yankees these next two nights in the Bronx? What do you think?
Well,
School's out.
Okay, school's out. What is this? I apologize. That's super loud.
No,
for you
you're
guys.
good. You're good.
Okay.
No, we're good.
What I think is honestly, if Stu wasn't selling the team, I would say that there would be like this would be selling time. I do believe with Stu selling the team, Eric might try to just hold firm worst case scenario, but I believe he's going to exhaust some options. They have the log jam at or I should say at first and DH, right? I don't understand how you can trade Yandy Diaz and think that my lineup is going to be better in 2026. He's just such I mean, he's one of the best hitters, natural hitters in Major League Baseball.
No doubt.
Having said that, his foot speed's a problem. He really has no balance in, positional flexibility. And there is some sort of like a world where I think you can, like, let's say with the Boston Red Sox. The Boston Red Sox obviously want Yandy Diaz. So if you go to the Red Sox and you say you want Yandy Diaz, give me there's the password. I don't even know how to pronounce his first name. His last name Garcia. But he's a right-handed bat that you can put in the outfield that's a little bit more of a power profile. And then also give me the top 100 arm they have, the lefty Tolle. I don't know these. Yeah. And if you give both of them, there's a way where I can say, okay, you now have given me a great bat in the outfield, which helps fill that position. You're giving me another power arm, a lefty in your staff. That helps me there. Sure, we got rid of Yandy, but now I'm just going to bring up Bob Seymour. I'm going to bring up, Trey Morgan, and my lineup is going to be okay. It's not. I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but like you still can do some things. So I'm very interested to see if Eric can do some of these moves and thread the needle where he gets rid of a great player, but I actually walk away saying I think this team can still compete. And I think that's going to be the goal for them in the next 48 hours. And depending on how other teams, how desperate they are, I'm curious. It hasn't been like a super seller's market, which leaves me a little wary. But I know that the Rays are going to make another move or two. Just are they going to have enough in return to make them pull the trigger? Because with Lau, with Yandy, they don't have to do that now. They can do it in the offseason if they want and keep trudging forward. And probably their value is going to be just fine in the offseason as well. So it's going to come down to what the other team is offering them versus I think the Rays wanting to make a move. And that's typically a good position to be in. But if you're going to trade Yandy, if you're going to trade Fairbanks, if you're going to trade Belau, it can't be for farm system depth. It has to be for someone who's like in AAA, on the precipice of getting to the major leagues, or already going to help you in the major leagues. It's got to be one of those types of guys. With Danny Jansen, I don't care about that deal. You got a pretty good prospect, honestly, for a rental catcher who has some serious defensive deficiencies. Whatever. But for those guys, it's different. So that's what my hope would be moving forward, is that if they're going to make those deals, that it's going to help immediately versus sort of the deals that we saw last year, which you're not going to see come to fruition for 2 to 3 years. And I know everybody out there wants to like make these grandiose opinions of how those deals were. You just don't know yet. Like you just don't know. You don't know how a guy who just turned 21 years old in high A ball, who's playing up a level, is going to mature into his body in 2 years when his skill set tells me that he's going to be really good. Talking about Aiden Smith. We don't know. He could be bad. He can also turn into a top 30 prospect. Like we're still sort of in the unknown area with a handful of these guys. So I just say, let's get some immediacy here. That's what I kind of hope happens if they do anything.
I think a lot of fans agree with you there, man. Give me some guys that we don't have to wait 3 years to see if it's going to pan out. Give me a guy that can help the club, if not this year, certainly next season. At E Closky WTSP, the great Evan Closky, 10 Tampa Bay. Are you going to Bucks practice tonight?
I am going to the Bucks night practice tonight. We'll talk with a couple of the players as well beforehand. I should be talking with Sterling Shepard, Jacob Parrish. So Sterling's one of the best characters on the Buccaneers team. Jacob Parrish, obviously one of those rookies who we expect to see a lot this season, like most likely at the nickel cornerback position. So I'm excited to be out there. I'm super excited for football season. I know they've had some discouraging news with, Chris and Tristan and certainly David Walker yesterday, but I'm still a firm believer in this squad. I believe the Bucks are destined for really big things as long as they can withstand the injury bug, which this hasn't been a great start to camp in that regard, but so is life.
Yeah, mitigate the damage for sure. All right, my friend, thank you so much for your time. As always, I'll see you tonight at practice, buddy.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you as always.
All right, pal. The one and only Evan Closky, WTSP, Channel 10, Tampa Bay. All right, before I let you go, guys, WWE Unreal on Netflix. I love it. I love it. And you heard a little bit earlier, our guy Matt Matera was like, I don't know. Maybe this isn't going to work out. I'm going to wait. And I get it, because part of the thing when it comes to WWE is the mystique. You don't want to know all the, you suspend you suspend reality. You're like, you don't want to know. And that's the thing, is like, when you read as much as I do, when you've watched it for so long, it's very hard to get surprised nowadays. You try to just not read certain things and read some of the spoilers because people are all over it. But man, it has just been, I've really enjoyed it. Again, an episode and a half, and just listening to some of the conversations and how the matches are put together. They don't do it for every match, and they don't do it for every single person, but in that first episode, to hear from John Cena and Cody Rhodes and CM Punk and Rhea Ripley, and especially Rhea discussing her apprehensions and some of the things that really bother her as a professional wrestler. Like, it's reality, man. It's reality of the entire situation. So I thoroughly enjoy it, and you bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be watching it today. Watch as much as I can before I head on over to practice tonight at 7 o'clock. All right, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Every little bit helps. As always, a big thank you to our sponsor, Honest Hammer Custom Builders LLC. Licensed, insured, and bonded general contractor. Residential, commercial, 813-244-0956. There you go. There's the QR code right there. Scan it today and tell them that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. A big thank you to my pal Evan Closky from WTSP Channel 10 Tampa Bay, and of course, my man Matt Matera from Pewter Report, pewterreport.com. Both those guys, including myself, will be at practice tonight over at the Avon Hill Training Center at One Buccaneer Place. It is the night practice for our Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, again, follow me at Jay Recher. I'll be all over the place. And, man, this video about Desmond Watson is still going over 680,000 views on Twitter. My goodness. Hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Remember what we said at the beginning of the show. Life is fragile. Life is short. You don't know what people are going through. Make sure you reach out to people and just be a good person. We are all in this together. All right, that's going to do it for me. We'll see you tomorrow right here at noon. It's the Jay Recher Podcast.